Hello, everyone. My name is Roger D. Starr, and I am here with.
Hey, I'm the RoyTeal 96. At least that's my username, but you can just call me Roy, because that's simpler.
And we welcome you to the Star Duo podcast. Uh, we, yeah, so,
We're a duo
uh,
of stars.
yeah, yeah, the duo of stars, Star Duo. It's almost like the Turbo Duo, I was thinking like because I like the star thing. That's kind of like last name. But then I also, when I say duo, it's just almost like the Turbo Duo or the PC Engine Duo. You've heard of that console? It's very underrated.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
we will be talking about a few subjects. We'll be talking about news on the WGA, Spiderverse, the brand new Spider-Man movie by Sony Animation, and we'll also be talking about our thoughts on what we thought about the gaming directs that we just recently saw that happened in the couple of months. All right. So just to talk about ourselves, for example, I'm a person who likes a lot of media. Uh, Favorite genres of movies and TV show: action, comedy, adventure. Sometimes romance. Sometimes I put romance in there. Morely on animation. Sometimes in most American comedies, or for example, and sometimes I like music if it's a movie score or some random artist that like I really do like. And I you could argue I have joined so many fandoms to the point that it's pretty nuts. It can be pretty nuts. But there are things that I dislike. Like, I'm not into sports. I'm not into a lot of. I do sometimes get into game shows, but most of the time I'm not too into game shows. And when I say not into sports, it's more that I don't like to really play sports a lot. Sometimes I play the video games of sports. Other times I do watch something like the Super Bowl or maybe the FIFA World Cup. It depends on which team is my favorite and stuff. Though I'm not too deep into football, it's merely the Super Bowl I'm mostly deep into. Because half of the fun is like those very entertaining ads that happen during the Super Bowl. And
Yeah, these are the only reason I turn Super Bowl is for the commercials.
yeah, really, really only for the commercials you turn into the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You don't get too excited about the game either at all.
No, I'm not really. We'll get to me though.
Yeah,
But
yes. So yeah, more on the dislikes. Uh, I think it's that sometimes. I mean, I don't like particularly like going into certain amount of places in life. I guess obviously the DMV. That's the most obvious one. That's like the worst place to be on this planet. But no, but I feel like the worst place to go to is like a freaking office building. It's just, I don't know. I just find it boring. Though of course, and I really don't get into concerts as much. I mean, I do like to go to a play, but sometimes there might be like, for example, I understand people are into seeing like their favorite band on stage, but no, I'm just not into that as much. As much as everyone else is. But love movies, love TV shows. Sometimes I'll see maybe a concert, maybe an experience concert of like, that's made into a movie form. Maybe I'll see something like that. But yeah. Um, what about you, Roy?
well, I like all sorts of media that like you. Movies, TV, internet videos, games. I'm more so like into gaming though than other stuff. I'd say like I don't know. I've always prioritized like video games over like movies and stuff. I mean, I still do like watch movies and stuff obviously, and I enjoy them. It's just I don't know. Video games usually like captivate me more, especially when it's like you know when the game's firing on all cylinders. I say when it's got like an amazing art style, story, gameplay, all that. It's just it's an amazing experience. Like something I don't think you can get really truly get with like films and stuff. But in terms of my likes and dislikes, um, I mean, pretty much like you. Like, I like adventure, action, comedy, drama. Those are like the usuals. I do like horror too, I guess. I don't
I
really
l-
watch
I
horror
like
that
some
much.
horror. I respect some horror, but I'm not like a horror junkie. I don't go out of my way to go to like these special kind of horror type con events where it's just surround I don't know, maybe it's just because it's just not for me, and also I do get freaked out, a little squeamish in certain areas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like a huge horror junkie either. Like I watch horror stuff occasionally, but like I don't know, just like usually never in the mood to watch horror stuff. That's my problem. It's not like I can't handle gore or anything like that. It's just, I'm not usually not in the mood because like I mean, a lot of horror movies like aren't really like that heavily story based, like it's pretty simple stories or whatever. It's mostly you just watching for like
What
the
about
gore
horror video
aspect and stuff
games?
like that.
Do you get into those?
What, horror video games?
Yeah, like those millions of zombie games that just come out every goddamn year. like
Well, to be honest, I haven't really played a lot of like horror games either, but I mean, I'm slowly getting into it. Like, honestly, recently I have been playing the Dead Space remake, so that's a pretty big horror game
What about
right
something
there.
like Doom? Do you ever got into like the original Doom or like the modern rebooted Doom?
Oof, that's a series I need to get into, man. I do have the recent Dooms, and I know I got Doom 3. I don't know if I have the other ones, but yeah, I just need to play them. To be honest.
I like Doom. It's just I'm not too into. I still haven't finished the first one. I'm really into the first one, and I'm like near towards the end, but then it just gets brutally hard to the point that I can't figure out where to go, or I can't beat these monsters. That's just it. But I think I can get
Yeah.
really into like the reboot. I still haven't finished the reboot yet because I'm so occupied with finishing other games. The one thing I really do have is like I get issues trying to finish certain amount of games, like when you start a game and you want to get and finish it first before you start another one, but then there are certain other games that are like really really easy to get into that you just want to finish that first instead of finishing the game that does take you an amount of time.
Yeah, I know that feeling, especially recently.
Oh my
That's why
gosh.
I kind of put BioShock down. I've just been like playing other stuff recently.
I,
I'll
I'm
get back to it
I
though.
was on I was freaking on the recent Yeast game, the Yeast series, which is action RPG. Which I just wanted to let you know I'm not into JRPGs or RPGs in general because I don't like the factor that you have to take turns when you're fighting in the game. Also, the exploring kind of sucks. Like sometimes I understand that there are people who are dead set to say that the exploring is like the best experience. I mean, yeah, I like games which open world games, but I'm just like it gets so hard to know where you have to go next. Like the map system really blows in every fucking game I try. Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, or any other game, they don't give you a marker to literally be like, you have to go here, you dummy. You have to do this. You have to do that. No, you always have to look up a walkthrough video or a strategy guide just to even get a minimum of just beating the first boss. It really irritates me. However, I have heard of action RPGs, which is why I got into like the Kingdom Hearts games and, like I said, the Yeast games, because Yeast is like action RPG where it's just like a hack and slash mixed in with RPG elements, which I really do get into. And I'm really far into that game. I think I'm near the end, but I'm on chapter 5. I think I'm on chapter 6, 5, 6, and I'm like really near into it. It's a very short game, but then at the same time I'm playing Yeast Origin, and then but then for some odd reason because they take their time consuming, so I'm trying to like build up my characters, and all of a sudden, like like I'm into these other games. Like right now I'm into the freaking Ratchet and Clank series. I'm right now playing Tools of Destruction because I just binged almost the first 4 games on PlayStation 2 thanks to my friend Beat
Oh,
Eggs.
you never played them?
Huh?
You never played Ratchet?
Um so I have a very interesting memory about Ratchet and Clank. So the first time I saw them was actually a demo disc that I tried at a friend's house, and this is a friend I haven't seen like in a very very long time. It's probably I don't even remember his name, sadly. I'm sorry. Like, so I once went to his house and he had a demo disc. And one of these demo discs had the first Ratchet and Clank game. And I tried a little bit of it, but I could never understand the controls. However, I did vaguely remember that. I don't know if you like the first Ratchet and Clank game, if you remember, there's this stage where you meet the Quark robot. And, like Clank is thinking that it's the real Captain Quark. And then Ratchet is just like, that's not the real Captain Quark, you numbskull. It's a robot. And like that's the part that was part of the demo, and I vaguely remembered it, but I can't remember where I saw it. And then years later I met my friend B Dags and I introduced him some games. He introduced me some games. At first he did introduce me to the first Ratchet and Clank game, but then I never got deep into it, but I was always interested in trying to get better at the games. And the more I tried, and it just kept getting difficult. It wasn't until I got myself a PS Vita, and then eventually I played Ratchet and Clank on the PS Vita, and I played 2 and 3 on that thing, and it was definitely an experience. It's definitely something I wouldn't recommend. Definitely play the games on the PlayStation 2 or the PlayStation 3 remasters that are there. But then, of course, I eventually played Deadlock on the PlayStation 2, and yeah, I'm right now on Tools of Destruction, and then I have to play a Crack in Time, and yada yada, you know the rest. But
Well,
yeah,
technically, you gotta play Quest for Booty,
I
like the
know.
DLC in between.
So
But I
there, the
mean, you don't
quest for
really
booty
have
deal.
to.
I have two ideas of how I can play that because my friend only has the digital copy. There technically is a physical copy of that game, but it's available on Europe. But you can buy it off eBay for cheap, and you can technically the PS3 is region free, so you can technically put that game disc in there and just put it on your American PS3 and just play it that way. But
Yeah.
my friend decided like, hey, maybe I should just bring my PS3 because that's the only digital. I may have thought of other ideas to maybe do it, but I don't want to get too into it of how to play Quest for Booty. But I am going to play Quest for Booty eventually.
Yeah, me too. Because that's where I stopped at. I finished Tools of Destruction, and then I was gonna go straight to Crack in Time, but then I realized there was like that little DLC thing. It's like, oh, well,
have
maybe I should
have you
try to play
tried?
it. But
Have you tried the RCSP3, which is the emulator for PlayStation 3, or is your computer not strong enough to handle those type of graphics?
um, yeah, I think I did. I have tried RCPS3. Yeah, but only with like one game. I
Yeah,
haven't really like tested out 360 PS3 emulation too much.
you should try seeing if you can play Quest for Booty on that, and then try to see. There is a special method on to try to get your PlayStation 3 controller working on your PC, but it's a very kind of like a very time, a little bit like a 5 minute time consuming method to do it, but it does get the job done. I managed to do it, and yeah, I can play PS3 games on my PC, but it's very depending on what game it is because some games might not work, some games might work. That's what I want to say. Like,
Yeah. But anyways, I guess I should wrap up talking about me.
yeah.
Got a little sidetracked there. Dislikes. I don't like sports. I like you. Um, I don't really play sports. I don't really watch sports. So by extension, I don't really like sports games.
What about game
Um,
shows?
yeah, game shows. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of them, but I don't mind them. They're like comfort food, like of television. About like a sitcom or something. It's like they're
You ever
pretty
watch
inoffensive for the
those
most
cooking?
part.
You ever watch the cooking channel like Food Network, just because you just want to see those delicious, delectable food, and some of it's just entertaining.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Um.
Um, what else?
Oh yeah. It's
Concerts? I haven't been to too many concerts, but I don't really mind going. Like, I mean, I part of my problem is I haven't really gone to concerts that are like of bands that I like really enjoy or like really want to see or something like that. I think I'd have to go to more of those to like really be more into concerts than I am. But I mean, concerts are fine.
The
But yeah, I'm fine just at
problem
home listening to the music.
the problem I have with concerts is that it's a really loud experience. If you're very sensitive with your ears, you might just get a little bit off put to the whole thing. And also, concert, from what I've seen, I don't say I've experienced it, so I can't judge those who experience concert. But from what I understand, it can get very dangerous in certain areas, depending on which concert you go to. Obviously, if you're going to a kid's concert, obviously you're not going to get that problem. But if you're going to like those metal concerts or like those concerts with those big bands, it's always crazy during those concerts.
Yeah.
You're literally like you have the t-shirt, but you're sweating your balls in the room. You're sweating, like you're jumping around, and like the lights are going off, and like sometimes there are seats in the concert, like sitting down in the concert with a chair, but most people are just getting up and dancing to the music, and there's like I said, they're sweating a lot. Like you drink pounds and pounds of water. It's like the music as loud as it could ever be. You basically need freaking hearing aids afterwards. But to be fair, there are some people who can handle that, and I get it. There are people who can handle stuff like that. And you know what? I'm not against people who want to go to these concerts and enjoy these concerts. And then, of course, there's Japan, who has those idol concerts or Hatsune Miku concerts, which I don't know if I should put that in my dislike, actually.
Well, you don't like Vocaloids?
the, so here's the thing. It's not that I don't like the Vocaloid in terms of like what it is, but it's merely more of the character rather than the voices. I mean, basically, what's a Vocaloid? It's just basically a sound mixer. It's like a thing where it's just basically someone's voice kind of pitch, kind of like Alvin and the Chipmunks. Well, I shouldn't really compare it to that, or I might get people mad. But I'm just saying it's a very similar situation. Like, it's something that I really don't get into. I do like some of the Vocaloid covers, that I'll say that. Some of the covers of famous songs or even funny songs and stuff like that. But I particularly don't like the characters themselves, especially Hatsune Miku. I like her design, but there's just nothing to her. Like, I don't know if anyone has ever said anything about this, but I just don't understand the appeal of Hatsune Miku besides her voice. Okay, she started
Just
out.
she's a cute anime girl, and
Yeah, I
people
mean,
are lonely.
I guess, yeah, but like she started out as a character on a PSP game because they made PSP games, PS Vita games, they basically PlayStation games out of this character. Sometimes she goes on Nintendo Switch and other multi-platform consoles, but they're pretty difficult games themselves. I played one of them on the PS Vita and I did not have that great of a time with it, and I love rhythm games. Like, the songs are not the problem, the characters are not the problem, it's just the difficulty of the games. It got really hard, and I tried pressing every button. I'm just like, what am I doing wrong? It's just like I couldn't even get past the first stage as much. I barely got past the first stage, to be fair. I beat it once, but it was barely a chance to do so. And then she kept becoming, and then she made cameos in anime, specifically Dropkick My Devil, like no, Dropkick on My Devil. That's it. That's what it is. But like
Never
I
heard of it.
said, yeah, it's a random anime, but it's a decent time. It has 3 seasons. It's on Crunchyroll and stuff. But like she did a cameo in that show for the third season only, but she barely left an impact. Like I said, it's not that I hate her in general. It's more of the fact that I hate that she has no character. Like, all she does is
Makes
smile.
sense.
Smiles, also just likes to dance. She's a really good dancer, a really good singer, but there's nothing to her than that. And I wonder when there's going to be a Hatsune Miku anime where they're going to give her a personality, give her friends personalities. I want to see something more meat to it. It's kind of like something like Mickey Mouse or Superman. At least with Superman, you can relate to the point of how he feels as a hero and what his powers are. And with Mickey Mouse, yeah, he was very basic and more of a nice kid. But then if you've seen the new Mickey shorts, they definitely brought more personality to his character than they did before. But like I said, they're like people that are so popular, they're popular characters, but there's something about them that you like, including like something like Garfield or, a bunch of other perfect characters like Steven Universe. You think of these characters, but there's something to them that you like, that you relate to. I can't think of anything to relate to Hatsune Miku. Like, I don't understand why she's so appealing to so many people. Just because of her singing? Is that it? Is because of her appeal? Like, I want something more than that, than just what we are given. I'm hoping we do eventually in the future.
Yeah, I'm surprised there hasn't been an anime about Hatsune Miku already. As popular as she is.
Maybe they're gonna do it down the line, but they're just trying to figure her out. I don't know. Now, what are my like favorite movies and shows? Randomly talking, my favorite movie of all time is Big Trouble in Little China. My favorite animated movie is The Iron Giant. And if you were talking about to me when it comes to TV shows, most of the time I'm into animation, but I do like some live action stuff. I used to be into Breaking Bad, but not as much. I stopped after the fifth season, and that's it. But I really do appreciate and the impact that the series has. I haven't seen Better Call Saul yet. I saw like maybe the first episode, and that's it. And didn't really continue after that. I really do like this very good show that ended a while ago called Modern Family. It's a really freaking amazing masterpiece of comedy. You should definitely see it. If
Oh,
you
I've
want,
seen it. I don't know
huh?
if I'd say masterpiece, but I mean, I liked it. you know.
Like it's comedy gold. That show. I
Yeah,
wa-
I mean, it was really funny.
I watched like all the seasons of the show ever since it started. Like I never missed a beat
I
of
got
it.
in kind of later. I didn't really see the first seasons, I think.
It is. I feel like during the early years, it started really funny, but then it started getting really really funny during its mid years. Like later on in the show, the show just gets constantly funny. There's just some memorable lines and memorable stuff that happened in the show. It is one of the great comedy show. I don't know. I'm not. Then of course there was another show that I'm currently watching right now, called Fresh Off the Boat, but that ended a long time ago. But it's available on Hulu. I'm binge watching the show just to really see what I've been missing and stuff. But yeah. Um, then for animation, I'm mostly into. I like a lot of American cartoons. I grew up with American cartoons like Looney Tunes. Tom and Jerry, and even modern stuff like Kim Possible from Disney, Lilo and Stitch. A lot of the classic Disney shows. I have seen a lot of modern Disney shows too, like Amphibia and The Owl House. Love those. I love those shows. But then I'm mostly into anime. I'm really just into anime. Like specifically, the ones that I'm top of my head right now are Lucky Stars, Hitamari Sketch, Clannad. For Kyoto Animation, it's really good. Violet Evergarden, um, Cowboy Bebop, obvious One Piece. Haven't even gotten as far as I can, but I'm trying.
Like, definitely, like one of my favorite shows, or like favorite shows, definitely be like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I've seen, all of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and they're both pretty great. I mean, Better Call Saul really complements Breaking Bad immensely. Like, really builds out the universe like more.
Does. Okay, like I said, I kind of stopped, but maybe eventually in the time I should get back to it, but it'll probably take
Yeah,
a
I
while.
mean, it does get better after season one. Not that season one is terrible, but about like Breaking Bad, it's like they got to build up to stuff. Like season one of Breaking Bad is like okay, like not terrible, but it gets way better in later seasons. So the same applies to Better Call Saul.
How do you feel about the entertainment history of how I felt before to now? I think to me, like how it changed for me was like I just mostly saw entertainment as well, just entertainment, nothing more, just popping in in the late night because I was young. I was like around 1995. I just really liked. I grew up in like the late 90s and mostly the 2000s, and the mid 2000s, sadly, and late 2000s. Oh my gosh, that was worse. But Yeah, but I remember, entertainment was kind of this thing where it was like the very old times where you just watched a show on TV trying to check a schedule. You popped in a VHS or a DVD player. That's mostly how you saw entertainment, and you play your video games by popping in the disc into your Nintendo GameCube or PlayStation 2, and that's mostly how my entertainment was. And then I rarely back in the day, because I really am into movies, you think I was like, I watched a lot of movies when I was a kid, but I rarely saw movies in theaters as a kid. I mostly just saw them at home because barely a few times does my because growing up I barely kind of went to go see a movie in theaters, because usually because I was too young I couldn't I couldn't obviously not force my parents to like take me to go see this movie all the time, because most of the time I just watched movies at home, and I thought, wow, this is just it's mostly what I've been doing. But eventually it wasn't until like maybe the 2010s. I think, yeah, it was the 2010s where I started getting invested into, I think it was like starting in high school where I went to film class, and I started really getting investing into like the people who make those things, because you know how most of the time when it comes to entertainment, the first thing that comes to your mind are the people on the screen, or entertainment like animation where you just mostly like the characters and story and adventures that they have, but you don't really pay attention to like the making of it or like that kind of stuff. You're kind of like very young, you don't know any better. But as soon as you get older, you start kind of respecting it, or maybe you don't, or maybe you're not into that stuff. You just watch movies for entertainment. But I remember when I was a film class in high school that our teacher started to show us a lot of stuff that we like, and and then he said like, okay, who made this? I'm just like, wait, who made this? Is that something that we should really care about or something like that? I'm not sure. Is it something we should? I don't know. I don't feel the need to like because we're kind of like, we're teenagers. We don't really feel the need to like, who cares who made this? Who cared who made that? But in reality, it's something that's very important, and the why the entertainment industry is alive even today, because there's a lot of people like directors, producers, and especially writers who work hard on these projects, such as stuff from Disney, Warner Brothers, and so even Sony somewhat, kind of does that, or Universal. You have like these movies, but to be fair, it's not like you never knew who made it, because sometimes like a big name like Steven Spielberg is on a poster, or just on the beginning of the movie, a film by Steven Spielberg, and you see that every time you see a movie from him, you mostly get gold. A lot of the time, you get like a really memorable experience. But then there's like other people like Chris Columbus, or maybe uh, people like David Fincher, or Stanley Kubrick. These people whose most of their lives have just making these really entertaining but at the same time very emotionally grabbing films that you get so much impact, you relate to. And I feel that's something that I eventually started to realize when before going to go see a movie. Before going to go see a movie, I always check to see the people working on it, if they worked on anything else, or maybe this is a new project and you give them a chance. I'm into a lot of stuff, and yeah, that's the reason why I do respect film and TV shows nowadays, because I look at the people who worked hard on these projects. Sometimes I just like go with the flow and just watch something if it looks entertaining, but I always make sure that like to see who are the people who worked on this. Maybe they worked on something else. But I feel like over the years, the entertainment industry has definitely grown as we had. I mean, back in the day, we just usually just watch stuff on TV. Now we're watching stuff on like streaming services, or sometimes on we're watching film on the big screen, but then sometimes it's simultaneously with television, because some people just don't want to go outside, and some people do want to go outside just to like see this entertainment. We can see now entertainment on our phones, on our laptop, on our smart devices, or tablets, and we can even see it on our freaking video game consoles now. So it's just like, we see that it's advanced over the years. We see that that's what people want. nowadays. That's what they want to, do nowadays. It's just like everything that, is media always has something to do with having entertainment on front of the screen. And that's, I feel like that's done. There's something that's better, there's something that's worse, but I'm glad that I have respected over the years. That's my feeling towards it.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, like you, I grew up primarily in 2000s. I mean, it was like a 90s baby technically, but I remember more so like experiencing stuff and watching stuff and playing stuff in the 2000s more so than the 90s. This is like before the internet. Well, I mean, the internet was around, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is today.
I
But before smartphones, more
sadly
specifically.
didn't touch the internet until like the late 2000s. Like, just,
Yeah, that was pretty much me. Well, I think I really started to get into the internet like 2010. I mean, that's when I got like a little laptop and stuff, and yeah, just really got into YouTube and stuff, and
that's when my,
started making my
yeah,
own stuff
basically
doing all that.
basically that's how I got into the internet, just because of the two. And it's sad because there was a lot of things in the mid 2000s and early 2000s that had fun things about the internet, because there was like flash games and stuff, or just looking on these articles. They had those like a lot of early stuff back then, but now it wasn't until like 2010 where I just really dived deep into the whole like in the internet, and just to look up a lot of the stuff and information that we never thought possible. Like,
Yeah, old internet seemed pretty fun too. Like just looking back on like web pages and stuff of stuff
like
from 2000s,
like
like
the
how creative they were.
like how AOL was. I don't even remember AOL. Like, like I'm so glad I didn't grow up with that. But it's
Yeah.
like, but surprisingly, when the internet was a thing, it was just a crazy type of thing that like no one expected to get like really popular, like, or just really well known. It was just a thing. Computers back then were just used for information type of things, or just looking up people and stuff, photos and like all that stuff. But of course there's like crazy stuff where, like, I heard like in the late 90s, I heard a lot of people use it for cheat codes for video games, or importing stuff from other countries. It was kind of an insane thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
and
like,
now with the once the smartphones introduced, it became part of our daily lives basically.
yeah, and we kind of, I feel like there's something as lost in like that kind of that, because think about it. Imagine if the electricity goes out for one day, and I feel like maybe people will kind of go into a panic attack. Mostly a lot of 10-year-olds and 15-year-olds will probably go into a panic attack, but most adults who grew up in the 90s and like the mid 2000s, I'm just like, well, we have our DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff, we have our uh we have our books, so we're good. Like, for example, but imagine if, like, the internet just cuts out for like a single day, like, and you think like, oh well, we can't do anything anymore, everything is connected to the internet. Oh wait, what about your DVD and Blu-ray players? You can still do that. Or video games, you can play video games without the internet. Like, really, there's single player games, or co-op, and stuff. So I think we're good, guys.
Yeah.
I think we're good, but like, it's just because, oh my gosh, have you feel like physical media has like really been dying down a little bit? It's starting to really scare me. It's
Yeah.
like I
Physical media definitely is being phased out.
and
I think eventually like it'll be like no more, especially for like video game consoles and stuff.
right now it's starting to phase out with video games, and I think that's the worst thing in the planet, because physical media is necessary. Because imagine if you want to trade in, or like, take out something, trade in or take out something, like, if you want to get some money back. I mean, imagine if you have a digital game, you can't take it back. Like, that's the issue. You can't get your money back. You can't get full money back from your digital game anymore. Well, Steam does like a 30-day kind of thing, but like, or even a week. But
Yeah.
I swear, I hope this is a rule eventually. I hope they do the same thing with video games, with physical, like they did with physical games. With digital games, I'm hoping they make a law where the person is allowed to refund their digital purchase if they don't like it in the few days, or at least a month, and if they don't like it, they can get all their money back. Because I hope that just becomes a thing eventually. Because
I
it's
think it kind of already is a thing for a lot of platforms, but
I
it
don't
really
I
depends.
don't think I really don't think so, because you can't do that with the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation 5, 4. You can't do that with the Xbox. As soon as you purchase that digital item, you can't take it back.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can't. Like, you can't take it back. But with Steam, that's now with Steam and GOG Galaxy, or or like a Humble Bumble. Like, you can take a game back, but it has to be under the 30-day mark. But imagine the person didn't know that and they kept the game for longer than not, and then eventually get bored with it. You have to like really think about that. But I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I'm hoping they fix this very soon.
Yeah, and physical media is also like really good for preservation and stuff. That's one thing that kind of concerns me about physical media, like evaporating.
Yeah, because surprisingly, movies and Blu-rays are still a thing. It's not like, it's just because I think the thing is because there's so many movies that hasn't been put even on DVD yet, and barely anything on Blu-ray. So yeah, we're still on that fight right now. But yeah, entertainment has definitely changed a lot over time. But some things are for the better, some things are for the worse, as I said.
Yeah, I think physical media for like video games will still be around, but it'll be like more of a niche thing, like for collectors and stuff like that.
Thank you,
But yeah,
limited.
on the whole, I think like streaming's gonna be the future of games eventually once the infrastructure's better.
Oh yeah, streaming it still needs time, but it's really good with Xbox Game Pass. I really love that one.
Yeah, I like Xbox Game Pass too. I haven't really like used it or subscribed to it a lot, but I mean, I do enjoy it. It is very convenient.
So I think we really do need to talk about what we should really delve deep into this, because it's something that I think a lot of people need to know and need to take really seriously, because okay, there are a majority of people that are taking this seriously, but I feel like everyone should take this seriously, because it is really important, and it is something that honestly you don't know about a lot of the time. Like, you take it for granted, and that's something that's I feel like entertainment is going to die if this doesn't get fixed. And yeah, so the standard of, like, what is the WGA? What is the WGA? Well, so the what it means, it's the Writers Guild of America. Now, I just want to point out right now, I'm not the best person. I don't think we're like the best people in the world to explain on what it is, like what the WGA is, what it stands for, what it's just like a big impact, like why it's so important. We're not like the best people, but we're at least going to give like our understanding towards it, our kind of thoughts on it, at least, but for what we know, but at the same time, why I feel it's important. But yeah, so basically, it's an organization that helps writers get the pay they deserve for any media they work on, TV shows, movies, and even online media. So, just telling the viewers right here, if you want a much more better detailed explanation on the WGA and the strike that's currently going on right now, I recommend that you watch Adam Conover. Also, Vox did a video on the WGA as well, and that is VOX. VOX, I cannot emphasize that enough. On YouTube, they talk about writers and how they've worked over the years and how the streaming services, right? Like, they talk about it. And then there's another video on Hansen, who also spoke to Adam Conover. He did a video with him about how they did the march on the WGA and stuff. Like I said, they explain the whole thing. They get a much more detailed explanation. All these people. I will leave a link in the description down below on the videos on these videos. But right now, let's just talk about how we feel about the WGA and why it's important. So, first off, let's get at least down the ground on what a writer for a movie or a TV show is, at least. So, for example, um, so writers, particularly writers who are like in like doing something for like a show or even a movie. It's so they explain this on the Vox video, VOX, the Vox video. Um, they explain that there's like different types of credits when it comes to writers, and right now it starts at the bottom where you're a staff writer, and then it gets to story editor, executive story editor, co-producer, producer, supervising producer, co-executive producer, executive producer, and then of course there's the showrunner, who's the person who basically is the one who basically gets the final word when it comes to like what they want to add into the show. Sometimes they talk to the actor about it too. Staff writers do that as well. So the basic standard of a writer is that usually they start in the very bottom, but then they work up into a lot of these jobs. They work harder to eventually gain a position as a showrunner. They that's what they're doing. They're basically starting out as writers for a show, for a movie, and then eventually they want to be they're trying to grow up to be the official writer, or even the director, or even the showrunner, because eventually that's what it is. You start out in like small little projects, eventually big projects, and then eventually you make your own project. These
About
people.
like Seth MacFarlane or Butch Hartman, I guess.
Yeah, like those, but those are more like those are like animators slash writers. Yeah, they start out in
Yeah,
like
true.
they small out. Yeah, Seth MacFarlane started out like with something like Johnny Bravo, smart animated shows, until eventually he got his own show like Family Guy. And Butch Hartman started out with small little projects until eventually he did get into stuff like Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom. They're well known very shows. Like I said, they always start at the bottom to eventually gain up. But now we're kind of in a situation where studios and CEOs are kind of preventing that from happening. So, one thing involving this writer strikes, for example, that has kind of been dying down because of streaming services. For example, but like I said, they explain this in the Vox video. So explain writers before, because it was only for one particular job for a show, they work for 40 weeks out of a year, because and that's just like one job, and it's like they do that for their pay. Obviously writers get paid, but I feel like just like animators, they kind of get paid shit nowadays. It's really really sad. Like it's really sad.
Yeah,
Like
they're
they
very
used
underappreciated.
under really like, no, I feel like a lot of people don't even respect or even like appreciate like at all any writers at all. It's just like kind of really sad, honestly. And they should. It's just, I don't know, it just feels wrong to me. So before they used to work 40 weeks a year, and now it's like only 20 weeks out of a year. So not only do they work less than they did before because of the whole, as time goes on, as well as streaming services, now they have to like find multiple jobs just to even pay for their rent. For gosh sakes. Like before, maybe it was like
Yeah,
one job because usually they paid decently well. Maybe they paid decently well, but like now it's like less than that. It's like really, really less than that. And it's starting to become a problem. And with the strike now happening, it's when making a show, I think a lot of people like, okay, for example, to your understanding, what do you think happens when a person's making a show or a movie? What do you think the process is?
well, the process. So you got to come up with the script first, and I guess like the whole story idea, right? So yeah, you definitely have to, I mean, it starts with the writers basically. You gotta write everything down. Like what is the movie? What's the general plot? Or like, well, I guess it's not movie but shows too. But I mean, what's the dialogue, characters? All that sort of I don't want to say like lore building or something like that, but something equivalent to that. Like getting all the information together for like what this product is going to be. Am I right?
You're kind of close, yeah. But there is a kind of pattern. It's always been the same pattern for a long time. And here's something that I don't think a lot of people don't know about. So it always starts out in the writer's room. The writers write the script, the story, the dialogue, and as soon as they feel like they're satisfied of what they got, then the studio has to get, and then they start in production. And in production, that's where they search for the director, they search for the crew that's going to be making the movie, and they search for the actors. And this is where they start filming the script that is written. And then in post productions, all of the after the filming is done, all of the work that has been done throughout the entire project is edited all together, and this is where the editors come in. And you might think like, oh, is it like one editor? No, there's multiple editors. Like even for like one movie or like even an episode of a show, there's like multiple editors that, and usually the director and also or the showrunner is in the editing room with them because they want to know if like what they're seeing is good or not. Because when you're recording like the entire script and everything, you're recording the lines and the entire scripts and stuff, you think that it's the same length as recording just for the entire movie. No, they can do, like, buddy, do you know that sometimes when it comes to recording footage for like a movie and show, it's like 10 to 20 hours.
Oh, jeez.
Like
No.
yeah, it is. That's what it is. It's just like sometimes even maybe sometimes longer, but like the reason for that is because it depends on the schedule of the actor, the director, heck no, even the writers. It depends on like all their schedules, and they have to mesh up. They have to like put a lot of time and effort into that. But sometimes they always have to follow a deadline. There's always a deadline, and it can get pretty fucking ridiculous. Like with deadlines, it's just like I understand why they're made. It's just so things can move in a smooth pace and not go back and forth. And some people might be getting disinterested of what they have to work on. I understand why deadlines are made, but sometimes deadlines can be even a curse too, because sometimes an accident can happen. Sometimes there might be a person who's going through medical issues, and some, or maybe something, maybe like I said, a small accident can happen, or even maybe one person can walk off the movie and stuff. You don't know what could happen, like and so they have to take all their time and effort to make sure. Like for example, like a movie series like Harry Potter, I feel like each movie was made maybe a couple of years apart, or maybe 1 year, I'm not sure, maybe a year, 1 year apart. But like you can see how in the movie they have to, they're close to the books, but like how the characters kind of grow up a little bit more each time a movie comes out.
Yeah, they grew up over the course of films.
Yeah, because that's the point. Because when you're filming a movie, you're not filming like 5 movies or even 3 movies in a year. You're filming one movie per year. And sometimes you're already getting into the next movie, and sometimes maybe you want to take a break and have like 1 year after that. It all depends on like how it goes, and like how, like if the actors are older or younger. It can take, a movie can basically, before it can take 5 years to be made, it can take maybe 2 years to be made, sometimes it can maybe take a year to be made. But it takes time for a movie to be made. It's not just pushed into the next things. I mean, for God's sakes, the movie Pinocchio, Guillermo del Toro's Netflix's Pinocchio movie?
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet though, but I've
That
heard of it.
You want to know how long that movie took to be made?
Uh, sure.
It's like 10 to 15 years,
But why did it take so long though?
because it's claymation.
Oh, it is?
It's
I thought
stop
it was
motion.
animated, to be
it- it-
honest, man.
It's stop motion animation. It's like stop motion
Huh.
slash claymation, because, and when you're doing that, you have to do frame by frame. It takes a long time. But well, wait, I could be wrong. Maybe it's like 5 years, but it still took a while. Like it took like a while to make that movie. It's like it's a process. It's not something that you can just easily put together when making a stop motion because you're using physical objects and you're creating the sets and everything. It takes time to make a movie like that. It takes like a lot of, you know, dedication, a lot of, you know, hard work and just pure love for like what you're doing. Like it takes a lot of time to for that to happen. And
Yeah, that's why you don't see a lot of stop motion nowadays. It just takes so long, and
yeah.
I guess it's expensive. I'm not well, yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, you got to pay the people to like do it for like however long, and since it takes so long, yeah, it
So
does kind of
yeah,
add up after a while.
and so yeah, with the post production and editing, and then we get basically the last part, which is, you know, it just gets put into TV or streaming services. You know, an episode of a show, or even in theaters, a movie's being put into theaters. But of course, with movies, they always have to get to a schedule. There's always a very specific due date for when the movie's going to be released. You know, and they always put in trailers. And you know, oh yeah, you know about how movie trailers are? They show you like clips of the movies before they come out.
Yeah, and give you like the general premise of the movie,
Have you
basically.
have you noticed that with movie trailers, it's kind of hard to know that if something that was in the trailer is in the final movie?
Yeah, I mean, I have like seen some examples of like things being in the trailer that weren't in the movie or that were different.
You know why? Because the movies are not even finished when the trailers come out. And that's 99% of the time.
Hmm.
Like they're never like when you see a trailer to a movie, it is usually never the final product. Like you wait
Yeah, that
and
makes sense.
yeah, like
Because
maybe
they like
like
released the trailer like a couple months or so before the actual movie. So yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, so the trailer usually represents a taste of what you're going to get, but it's usually never the fun. I think the best example is definitely the very first Jimmy Neutron, the Jimmy Neutron movie. The very first trailer of the Jimmy Neutron movie was basically a short, and looked nothing like the final movie at all.
Are you talking about the Johnny Quasar short?
No, no, no. There was another short called "Runaway Rocket Boy," "Runaway Rocket Boy," and they put that as the trailer for Jimmy Neutron, for like in the late 2000s, like in the 19, I think in the 2000s or 1999, they just put the Runaway Rocket Boy, you know, little teaser, and even in the trailer they said, and it's a sneak preview of his new movie. Basically, it's not even like it's kind of like not even a fully rendered version. It's just like it's not even the movie. The movie wasn't even made yet. It was just a short that was just put in as a trailer, only for the second trailer to be the actual movie.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting
it's
strategy.
like, but then sometimes most of what you see in the trailer does come out in the movie, like the Super Mario Brothers movie that just came out recently. That is like the only rare trailers that actually had 99% of what was in the movie than compared to other trailers. However, there were a few lines that were changed into the final product and a few things that were cut out, but it's just very little stuff, but it was very accurate to the final product. I was actually shocked.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that's kind of the basis of how a movie or a TV show is made. But now let's get into something that a lot of people don't know. So, you remember okay, so you remember what production is, right? What happens during production?
That's when all the filming and like voiceover and maybe well, not animatics probably, but storyboarding, I'd imagine. Like that
Basically
sort of stuff.
basically they're looking for the director, crew and actors and they start filming everything.
Right.
But do you want to know that the writers are still there, right?
Yeah. And
So
they're like
they're
providing insight and stuff.
No, they're not just sitting down. They're not just sitting down and just looking at the what they wrote. They basically are there to work with the actors, the directors, or just if they feel like they want to change something. Because guess what? Even though they finished the final script, it doesn't mean that the final script is its final script. That's rarely a thing that happens because sometimes there might be an actor or of like ooh, even a well-known actor, like a very famous actor that if you know any like famous like we all know a lot of famous actors, so I don't want to list them down, but like for example a famous actor or a regular actor, usually there might be a moment where they're just like, wait, I don't know. I'm not feeling this. Like, I don't feel like my character would say this. And the writer is literally running towards the actor and talking to them like, okay, so what do you want me to change? The writers are always there. That's a thing that people need to know right now. The writers, even when they're filming the movie, they're still there, sitting down or standing there and like talking with the director, talking with the actor. Sometimes the director might be like, you know what? I'm not feeling my vision here. I'm just giving I'm giving like a really silly example, but like there might be a director who's just like, I'm not feeling this vision. Why on earth is there a volcano in this movie? Can't there be a lava pit or something like that? I mean, that's a little different, right? They might ask for like very specific things, or even an actor might feel like this line doesn't work or like this thing doesn't work. So the person who's basically the main writer or even the person who's making the project or the director, they're all like trying to talk to each other, and then after they get all of the check marks done into trying to please everybody, they go back to the writers room and revise the script that they finished. Like that's always the case. Like writers are always in the production. They're always there, sitting there. Wait, basically, they think that they finished the script, but in reality, they have to like deal with the actors, the directors, and even sometimes themselves. They start to think, wait, you know what? I don't like what I wrote here. I want to change it. I'm starting to get second thoughts because there's always going to be second thoughts on everything. And yes, it is super annoying. Sometimes it gets irritatingly annoying, but you know what? This helps because sometimes these well-known actors kind of just want to bring more life to the character, the story, and all that, like everything that's going into like making this movie or making this episode or the show and stuff. It's called improvising, like about
Yeah,
improvising, right?
sometimes that the like actor or director insight can like improve the product some. Like I don't know if this I got one example I can think of. I don't know if it was like something that Bryan Cranston really suggested himself, but I saw a video like of him explaining his important roles, and one was about Malcolm in the Middle, where he played, Malcolm's father on the show, and he had talked about when he went to like audition, that he looked at like the description, like what the characters were like, and that his wife was like, a very domineering person, like in control and like an authority sort of figure. So he figured like the best way to play off of that would be like the opposite of that and be like more of a sensitive and like submissive sort of character. And I think he pitched that to the writers, and they liked that so much that that pretty much became his character, and it really, complemented the characters and helped make the show better, probably in some aspect. So, I mean, yeah, the sometimes just listening to like what actors suggest sometimes can make the show better potentially.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's one minor one that I'm starting to remember. You ever heard of the movie Real Steel, the one starring Hugh Jackman?
Oh yeah, that's kind of an old one. I remember it now that you mention it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you want to know that Steven Spielberg and Robert Zemeckis produced that movie?
Uh, yeah, I didn't know that,
The
but
group, the
that's
group
cool.
that made the group that made Back to the Future, basically, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, that's quite the
Yeah,
packing.
because here's the thing. Originally, the movie was just going to be kind of a generic film about just a robot fighting in these kind of like boxing games, and obviously it had a big star. It was probably going to be a run-of-the-mill generic movie, but in a way it kind of turned into like a decent flick because of those two, because they kind of intervened and they kind of like looked at like the sets and stuff. They made the design, like they thought of the designs for the CG and stuff. They kind of were helping a lot during making this movie, and I think that's the reason why the movie ended up turning better than originally what it was going to be.
Hmm. Yeah, I never saw it when it came out, and I still haven't seen it. I mean, to be honest, I kind of forgot about it till
I should
reminded
rewatch
me.
that movie because I remember it being so good the first time, so maybe I should rewatch it just to see if it's any good today.
Maybe I should too.
Yeah. Um so now getting to the point of writers, this is a thing that I feel that, yeah, so I explained to you about like how writers, like they are involved in the entire project. They're not the one, they don't stop. They always get everything done, but at the same time, because of the factor that they're with the actors and the directors, always helping them, doing extra work for the script, because if you're doing extra work, what happens? You have to be paid more, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so
And
guess.
companies don't like paying more money
No,
when
they
they don't
don't.
have
No, no,
to.
no. A lot of CEOs and studios can give two shits about paying more. I mean, they have to if they want to keep the writers on, but then sometimes they don't. And that's where we get to the problem now. So now I can see if people are saying like right now, I mean, it's like, I mean, writers are important or anything like that. I mean, it's just a piece of paper with, you're just writing words into it, you're writing dialogue and script. I guess that's important, but it's mostly just the actors and directors who make sure that everything goes by. Okay, just to give you examples of these writers, some of them are well-known names, some of them you may not have heard of, but I'm going to give you some of them. So, for example, there's these writers for movies, Alvin Sargent. I'm sorry if I butchered that. He wrote the script for and dialogue for Ordinary People, Spider-Man 2, and The Amazing Spider-Man. Then there's David Coep, who wrote for Jurassic Park, Panic Room, Spider-Man, Zathura. And, you know, there are also TV writers who, like, for example, Willimon, who wrote for House of Cards and Star Wars Andor. Rebecca Sugar, which I think a lot of people know. Do you know that she started out in Adventure Time? And then she eventually made her own Steven Universe. And then she eventually helped out her husband, who basically made the show OK KO Let's Be Heroes.
To
And
be
then,
honest, I didn't really know about her until you mentioned her. But I mean, that's cool that
yeah,
she started on the show and like kind of made
eventually
her own show.
made her own
Or
show and then helped her husband make like wrote
okay, gotcha.
episodes for OKKO, which is a very underrated series. Like, and then there's Paul Dini. I think a lot of people know who Paul Dini is, but there's some people who
Yeah, I do too.
might not know. But there's just too many to count about what he's written. He's written for Batman the Animated Series. He's written episodes for Animaniacs, Tiny Toons, and Freakazoid. Mostly Steven Spielberg centric produced shows. And he's still, I think, even writing to this day. Who knows? I'm sorry if I didn't keep up with
I mean, I
that.
know he
But
wrote on the Batman Arkham games, I think, or at least one of them,
yeah, so
where he influences.
these are people who work their freaking ass off to get to where they are. And they've written like really great stuff. And I feel like they're not even given the respect that they get. And this is where, and yeah, so you ever seen the movie Tales from the Script?
I have not.
So this is available on Amazon or Canopy. It's a movie that's available on Amazon Prime or Canopy. It's this
Canopy.
documentary. Yeah, Canopy. Yeah, that's what it's called. It's a move. It's like a documentary. It's a documentary that talks about the stories and the difficulties of you know, famous writers and sometimes even famous directors who are writers, and even small directors, and they talk about their stories about how, you know, the entertainment industry is, how they've written for scripts but sometimes it never goes through, sometimes it does go through. I remember my brother told me about this documentary and I decided to watch it because it sounded interesting. The moment you see the first few minutes of this movie, you are shocked. You are very, very shocked, and it can get like very sad. Like a lot of these stories are kind of really depressing, and some of these stories sometimes are funny, but at the same time they're very depressing. Sometimes you feel bad because, you know, these people want to write these beautiful projects, and sometimes that's not even, and sometimes they're stuck in like really terrible garbage. And you know, they talk about their struggles, they talk about like how, what it means to be a writer, that you know, you need to know how the industry works and how to write professionally. It's not just writing on the, like, there's a lot to this movie, I can tell you right now. It's a movie you should see just to get about the idea, because really, I feel like every time I go to a movie theater or go see a movie, and or I see a movie with a friend, like, you know how sometimes this does happen. Obviously, they talk mostly about the actors, like, they're like, "Oh man, wasn't Ryan Reynolds great in Deadpool? Oh man, like, wasn't like Robert Downey Jr. was great as Iron Man. He was so great. I love Chris Evans and stuff, you know, that kind of stuff. Or Scarlett Johansson, or you know, Margot Robbie. You know, all everyone talks about the actors. Sometimes they do talk about the directors, like, you know, David Fincher, Steven Spielberg, and stuff, or you know, other directors like I'm sorry if I'm Venezuela, Dennis Villa, for you know, Blade Runner 2049, or you know, recently he's doing the Dune movies, like Dune Part 2 is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard some people like talk about, at least, yeah, most of the actors, but even the directors, sometimes people who produce the movie. But tell me, have you ever talked to a friend, or even like hear anyone in the like anyone who's like watched the movies, like talk about the writers, talk about the people who wrote this film, who probably came up with the idea itself, you know, of, you know, what they want to work on? Does anyone even, you ever hear a conversation like, oh man, this movie was written so beautifully well, I wonder who wrote it? Oh man, I love the dialogue in this movie, I wonder who talked about it? In their minds, to a writer, like, in their minds, the writer to them is like, seriously, who gives a fuck? I'm just like, because that's
Yeah.
like, I'm just like, that's because that's what that's now, like, yeah, that's what mostly, it's sometimes, yeah, even the studio too, like Disney or Warner Bros, like obviously that's on their minds too, but like, who gives a shit about the writers? Who gives any shit? Like, that's what's on majority of audiences' minds, and I really don't think that should be a thing. That really, really shouldn't.
Yeah, writers should definitely get more credit because they definitely, you know, they work in the background and like they're underappreciated. They're about like, you know, programmers with video games. It's like you don't really think about them, you don't really know them. You know, not like the game designer of a game or, you know, what actor played in the game or whatever, you know. But they are very important, you know. They helped create this thing, and without them, like it seriously wouldn't exist. I mean, that doesn't just go for like programmers and writers, but pretty much everybody. But yeah,
Yeah, speaking of like video games and movies, did you ever see the Ratchet and Clank movie?
I haven't seen it yet. I've heard it was all right though.
I thought
Like
it
the
was
game
I
might
thought it
be a
was an
little better.
okay, decent experience. It was very serviceable. But so the person who wrote it, who wrote mostly Tools of Destruction and Crack in Time, that would be TJ Fixman. He's an excellent writer. He wrote for the Ratchet and Clank series. He wrote for two games, and like a lot of people really appreciate it. And he was literally the script writer for the Ratchet and Clank movie. But do you
Hmm.
know that he only wrote a draft?
Dude, maybe that's why the movie didn't turn out so great.
Yeah, because he literally, even he said it on his Twitter page is just like, guys, I'm just letting you know I only wrote the draft of the movie. I never actually wrote the full script. That was actually given to the other writers. So yeah,
Mm.
probably writers who's never even heard of Ratchet and Clank or even know about. Like I said, I feel like the movie was had some issues with it, which is probably the reason why it didn't turn out as good as it wants to. And that goes into, like, for example, a point in Tales from the Script. So there was this writer for Tales of the Script, um, who I don't even want to say, you've ever heard of Uwe Boll?
Oh yeah, I've heard of him.
He's
The
like, so
infamous
for
video game movie
anyone,
director.
who's doesn't who's never, probably so many majority of people who are listening to this know who Uwe Boll is, but so Uwe Boll is this director who most of the time most of the time directs shitty, crappy video game movies, and yet he still makes money. And the reason why is because it's like, I'm sorry if I'm giving off a very, like, brief detail of it, but it's something about a tax write-off, basically, where like, basically, I think it's in uh Switzerland.
Yeah, I think he'd like make the movies like under budget or something, and kind of
No,
like
like,
talk to directors.
he films the movie specifically somewhere. I
Oh,
think
that's
it's
right.
he films
Yeah,
the
it's like
movie.
a government thing, I think, in
Yeah,
like a
like,
country.
he films the movies somewhere. I'm sorry if I don't know that right now. I'll put in I'll put in a
I
link.
think Germany or maybe
Germany.
Poland, wherever he's
I
from.
think it is. Yeah, Germany. So he films these movies there, and basically he gets every if the movie bombs, he gets a tax write off and he gets the money back. So even if the movie doesn't do well, he still makes money off of it. So he directs the movie Blood. So he's directing the movie Blood Rain, and one of these writers who wrote the script for American Psycho, she comes in and she's writing the script for the movie. So while she's writing the script, Uwe Boll is like pestering her. She's like pestering her every freaking month to write the script of the movie, and he keeps going like, "Where's my script? Where's my script? I need my script to make my movie." I'm just like, and she's like in a hurry, and so she finally gets the draft done. Hear me out. She gets the draft done of the film, and she gives it to him like, "Okay, I got the draft. I just need to finish final print." Oh, okay, so we start filming. I'm just like, what? I was like,
It sounds like something he'd do.
it's just like, it's not finished. It's a draft. Like, the movie, it's a draft of a movie. A draft is basically like, kind of like a, I don't know how to explain it, the best way to explain it, but from what the best way I can explain it, it's like an early version of the final draft. It's like a full script that's like finished, but there's still some mistakes. There's some writing errors or like some vocabulary, like some kind of errors in it that, like, it's not the final script. Like, it's kind of like the beta version of video games. Like, you play the demo of a video game and then eventually you play the final game and the demo's like a little different.
Yeah.
It's something similar to that. So then she gets a call from her agent, and the agent says, "Okay, so I'm just letting you know, Uwe Boll basically rewrote your script." I was like, he rewrote most of, like, what you wrote, and then a few days later he said, "Okay, now he's getting the he's getting the actors to take a crack at it."
It's a script.
Of the script,
Oh.
yes. Of the script. I'm just like, he's passing the script to the actors instead of professional writers. I'm just like, no. She's like, oh my
Sounds like
gosh,
the
no.
Hollywood equivalent of like Mad Libs.
Like, she has no control. She basically has no control of her own draft. She's basically over. And then, so when the premiere, she actually went to the premiere of this movie, and her seeing the film in the documentary Tales from the Script, she literally said, "So, letting you know, after seeing the film, I can tell you right now that only about 10% of what she wrote is in the final film."
Wow.
It's just terrible.
That's that's got to be awful.
It's just terrible. I'm sorry. It's gosh damn repulsive, honestly. It's like a repulsive, like, I can't believe this was even a thing. Like, it's just so, like, imagine like your name in this imagine your name is in this movie and you don't want it because like you only wrote 10% of this film,
Yeah, and the other 90% is garbage.
basically. It's just, I don't know, it's just really, it's a sad story. I, like I said, definitely highly recommend to everyone listening, Tales from the Script. It's a great movie, it's a great documentary. You should definitely see it. It does show the stories of these, honestly, these wonderful writers who tried their best to make something grand in their lives, but they just can't because studios don't let them. Sometimes even directors don't let them.
Yeah.
So we're getting into like, now I think if you understand what writers are and how much they mean to making a movie or a show, now we're in the current situation of the WGA. And so with right now, the reason why the strike is even happening is because, so I think there was a strike, I think a lot of people remember, a long time ago, because the WGA has been doing this for quite some time right now. They've been doing this since, like, I think the early the 60s to the 70s, all the way up to now. And the most recent one was from like the early 2000s. Films like Quantum of Solace and Transformers 2 basically suffered because the WGA was heavily involved in the strike, and
Yeah.
those movies suffered for it. But I don't really think, Transformers 2 was going to be in any problem. It was going to be garbage anyway. It's like, but I'm sad because Quantum of Solace could have been a solid film, but it didn't because of the writer's strike. But there was a reason for the writer's strike, and now we have a reason now. And this is very important because we could be dealing with not having anything come out next year. Like any movie, any TV show in the next couple of years. I don't think we're going to be receiving any kind of projects until these studios and CEOs do the right thing. So the situation right now is, what they're fighting for is they're trying to get the residuals from streaming media. The reason why is because the CEOs of the streaming services as well as studios are taking most of the profit they get from the shows and movies. Basically, see, for example, the most obvious being David Zaslav. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. I'm so sorry. He's the CEO right now of Warner Brothers Discovery, and he's like one of the biggest problems. He's not only hated just for this, he's hated for a lot of things. Canceling a lot of animated projects, basically changing the name of HBO, and basically rushing the people to make a crappy app. Like, he's in deep water right now, and I'm hoping he gets freaking fired eventually or just replaced, because it's a nightmare right now. But it's not only this; it's also on Netflix too. The Netflix is also a punishment to this as well, because, so the reason why they're, like I said, the reason why writers are striking is because they're not being paid for what they deserve for the streaming service method. Because before, when it came to TV, they got paid the amount that they want, but now with streaming services, it seems like they're now refusing to pay them what they deserve. And most, like, streaming services and most studios, including CEOs, are preventing that from them. They basically are taking more of the profit out of the production that's going on. And so now, because of this happening, a lot of productions for a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows, including the people who are the showrunners, they basically stopped. They're basically stopping making these shows, stopped making these movies, because they're not getting paid what they deserved. Like, really think about it. Can you imagine, like, years down the line, we're not going to be watching any new movies or TV shows coming out?
Yeah, if the strike takes a while, like
Yeah,
just longer
imagine how long.
months.
Like, imagine, like, this could go on. Like, this could go on for years if, like, how fucking stingy, like, studios and CEOs are. It could be like a giant fucking problem, I swear. Like, I actually showed him the video of the Adam Conover video and also the Vox video about, like, the writer strikes, and they're holding their picket signs, they're walking around studio lots. Actually, they ended up stopping the production of Wonder Man. I don't know if the
Mm.
Marvel's Wonder Man, they actually stopped that. And you know why? Because here's the thing, not only are they going to lose money because there's no writers involved into these projects, but if they keep stopping production of movies and TV shows, they basically are wasting a day, and that basically costs the studios and the CEOs money each time they don't get something done. It costs
Yeah.
money every fucking day they try to film something. And if something ends up halting the whole thing, they're like spending thousands and thousands of dollars every time, because that's what the writers are doing. The writers are literally holding their signs, stopping like the actors from coming through, stopping the crew from coming through, stopping anyone from making anything, any filming project or filming any project. You know why? They're going to lose money this way. And eventually it's going to cost them so much money that eventually the CEOs and, the studios are going to have to be like, you know what? We screwed up. We might as well pay the writers, what they deserve. And you know what? Good for them. They need to feel that. They need to feel that fucking pain of, like, how it means to not knowing the fact that they can't even pay their, like, these writers can't even pay their rent, or they can barely even, like, do anything. Like, they can barely do anything. They can't even get decent food. They have to, like, like, you understand how painful it is that they're in, like, the most famous, like, Hollywood. They're in, like, Hollywood right now. They're in LA or something like that, and they can barely pay their, like, and for heat, for food, for, like, anything. Do you think that's not sad? Like, that's really fucking sad. Like,
Yeah, it's tragic.
it is very, it's like, and now, SAG, the Screen Actors Guilds, are teaming up with the WGA, and a lot of some famous, well-known actors are now part of the strike too. Well, it is coming, but a majority of them recently, right now, has been striking. They've been striking right now, helping out the WGA, and it's become like, we're not setting anything yet, but just to give you an example, this is something just happened that just happened recently because she posted on Twitter. You ever seen the series Orange is the New Black on Netflix?
I haven't, but I definitely need to get around to it because I
Yeah.
heard it is really good.
So yeah, Orange is a New Black, is a famous show, a well-known show on
Netflix.
on Netflix. Yeah, on Netflix, and a lot of people really love the show. It started in 2013 and ended in 2019. The show went on for 7 seasons and 91 episodes. So there is this actress known as Kimiko Glenn. She started out as I think from what I understand, a minor character, but eventually she became like a mainstay in the show, and she got really famous because of being a very well-known character. Her acting was great. She was really funny. Like I said, I've never seen Orange is the New Black, but I heard that that's like, she was a very, very well-known character in the show now. So tell me, how much do you think she got paid for her role in the 7 seasons in the show? How much do you think a regular actor gets paid for doing like multiple seasons of a show?
How much they get paid for? How much they regularly get paid?
Like, for
Probably.
example, a season. How much do you think they get paid for a season for a show? Like 25 episodes for a season.
I would say at least 1,000 an episode. Probably more than that, but
A lot
you know,
more. Like, famous actors do get paid a lot because of the Screen Actors Guild. Like, a lot of famous actors do get paid, because they have that. The reason why they have SAG is because it's to make sure that they get paid for what they deserve. And so, but from what I understand, it's usually just famous actors, not regular actors. So Kimiko Glenn just got famous and she eventually got into the guild, but the royalties for the entire, like, basically what she made entirely for the show. So like I said before, the show was made for, she was in all the seasons. She was in all 7 seasons, and there was 91 episodes, and the show lasted for a long, long time. Tell me right now. Just give me an example. Just give me like a complete, like kind of. Okay, take a guess. Take a guess how much she got paid for the
Uh,
whole show.
$1,000.
For the whole no, for at least well maybe like a regularly maybe like 50,000 50,000 or something 50 million or 70 million, like a lot of money. You can just say a lot of money for all 7 seasons.
Okay, I thought we were talking about royalties. My bad.
Well, like royalties. Oh yeah, but that doesn't involve it. So do you know so she just posted on her Instagram, which I will leave in the link in this in the description as well. She posted how much she got for the whole show. You know how much she got paid for the
How much?
entire 7 seasons of the show? $27.30
I mean, hey, that's not too bad.
for all no for the entire series, all 7 seasons.
Yeah, that's like nothing.
That's all she got. She could with that like she that's all she got for all 7 seasons of the show. Like she's gonna like basically that's basically like every other actor got thousands of dollars or maybe millions of dollars out of like the entire show, but she got like $27.30 for
It's
all.
almost like $4 a season.
No, like 3 cents 3 cents an episode or something like that, or even $0. and, she, and she's like, you think I'm just like, how terrible is that? Like, how fucking like seriously, she's getting like paid in cents and penny, while all these other actors are given so much money. Like, she can't even pay. She's not gonna pay for rent because for that all of her rent is like maybe she could get like a freaking like I don't know a freaking square hamburger in like Wendy's or something for that amount of money. Like not it's just I'm sorry, it's awful. That's shit. Like it's really garbage. I don't know. It's just really sad. I don't know. It's like it's really really sad. And then going back to David's, yeah, I'm hoping the WGA and the SAG just fight for their rights to get what they deserve to pay, because this is just fucking ridiculous. I swear.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
won't really know the true effects of this strike until years later, about like with the previous one. Because, like you mentioned, there were like movies, but also like shows and stuff that were affected by the strike.
and it's understandable because these writers don't get deserve what they need to be like the pay they deserve, and they should. They should equally be paid just as much as the directors and the actors and the crew and these stupid CEOs and studios.
Yeah, writers are definitely very important. You need to pay them. They're
Pay them,
like
pay them well.
the
But
yeah.
David Z is not gonna understand that. Did you hear about
Right.
what happened? Did you hear to what happened to him recently when he went to go to the Boston University graduation?
Yeah, you got booed at.
He got but like everyone's just like bro or pay your. They literally were going like pay your writers, pay your writers. Like think about it. A bunch of these college student, like I mean I've been to college before, like usually we're just you mostly just trying to like get that piece of paper. Obviously we're trying to like do our best in college, like nothing against it, but I'm just like we're just trying to do our best to survive, obviously. But sometimes there are college students who just basically have fun, they just like it's kind of like one of their times of their lives, I guess. But think about that for a sec. Like these
That's when you know you fucked up usually.
like the fact that these people who are now just graduating from their school, and 90% of them are literally booing on this random guy who is and they know the truth. They know that like they need to pay like that's the reason why they screamed pay your writers, because they know the truth. They know that this is bullshit. They know they need to fix this shit. And I'm just like, if a bunch of college students is telling off this giant CEO, tell him to go fuck off and just like pay the people who deserve to be paid, then you did something wrong. You messed up.
Definitely.
So Spider-Verse is right now doing pretty well in the box office. Currently Indiana Jones is taking the spot, but like for quite a while Spider-Verse was pretty high up there Across the Spider Verse is pretty high up there, and making so much money, but at the same time being a pretty fucking awesome movie.
Yeah, everybody seems to love it, and I've heard like so many people just keep talking about it and making memes about it and stuff.
A lot of it, the chai tea, oh my gosh, the chai tea, the Adventures of Spider-Man, or the pointing. Like I said, I'm guessing you still haven't seen it yet.
No, unfortunately.
You should. It's worth going to go see in theaters if you want to. It's a really. I've seen it, but for now, let's talk about at least the first film and how it basically how it impacted animated films recently. So I don't think honestly a lot of people say that like the mixture of different types of animation styles started like I think it really started with Ralph Bashki. He's a very good animated director. He's written a lot of film. I think most people know him for two things: the animated Lord of the Rings movie and Cool World. But he's also known for a lot of other movies.
Yeah, like Fritz the Cat
Fritz the
and some other
Cat,
ones.
Wizards, like Wizards and stuff. So he basically, I think he truly started mixing different styles of animation in his movies. And that, but I think not a lot of directors took it. You know how, like, a lot of films, as they came out when CGI was getting new, most people were just trying to make the films look as realistic as possible, and nothing involving style or cartoony style kind of movies and everything, like most of that junk and stuff. But it wasn't until like the Peanuts movie where it was kind of like almost like a 2D kind of CGI, and then there was like Disney's Paperman, who kind of mixtured both hand drawn animation and CGI
Hmm.
for that film. But now we get to the Spider-Verse movies. So when the first trailer came out, a lot of people were kind of a little concerned because it looked really different. Like when you saw the first trailer of Into the Spider-Verse, you kind of just like, wait, why is he moving so weird, and why are these shots just like very uniquely done, but it almost kind of like it looks cheap looking. A lot of people thought it looked cheap, but the reason for that is because they kind of slowed down a lot of the frames. There was like slowdown in frames when they animated the movie. And then when eventually the movie came out, I think everyone was like shocked of how this movie looked, because it was like multiple styles. Like hand drawn style, it was CGI, it was comic book looking, it looked like cartoony looking, it looked realistic looking, it also kind of had like anime feel looking. This abundance of like such craftsmanships when this movie came out. You've never seen anything like it, honestly.
Yeah, it was definitely a very unique movie for its
Like
time.
for its time. It's I mean, yeah, it came out around the 2000s, 2000, the mid 2010s. It was just like a very, and nobody expect. I remember like a lot of people after seeing Venom, a lot of people thought that Spider-Verse Into the Spider-Verse was gonna bomb hard. They thought it was like gonna be the worst project ever made. I mean, wait, an animated Spider-Man movie? I thought it was gonna be like a decent flick or like something okay. I was not expecting it to be as incredible as it is, because that movie to me is personally my favorite Spider-Man movie. And I seen
Yeah,
a
I could probably agree with that.
yeah, like I've seen a lot of Spider-Man movies and I respect them. I love Spider-Man 1, I love Spider-Man 2. I have a soft spot for Spider-Man 3. Amazing Spider-Man is like the only best one, while Amazing Spider-Man 2 is like the worst. It's still bad even to this day. And I'm kind of very I have an okay feeling towards the MCU Spider-Man movies. I enjoyed Homecoming. The more and more I see it, the more I enjoy it. My favorite is actually No Way. No, my favorite one is Far From Home, because I feel like that really represented Spider-Man in general. It was like really well made. I kind of have my own personal feelings that I already gave on No Way Home. I don't want to basically repeat the same thing, and I really don't want to get people angry or anything like that, but I'll just say like I thought it was okay. Nothing more than that. And then like when Spider-Verse came out, I'm just like, this is my favorite Spider-Man movie. I'm just like, this movie is everything I love about Spider-Man. Everything that everything that you gush and love about Spider-Man, the emotions, the feelings, everything about it. We're not going to do like a whole review on Into the Spider-Verse. We're just giving our personal thoughts about it. I mean, I love Miles Morales. He's like my favorite Spider-Man now because of this movie.
Really?
Yeah, I love I love Gwen. Spider Gwen. I love Peter B. Parker because he's like a very interesting Spider-Man. If like just things didn't go his way or something like that, or messed up and everything. I do love the Nicolas Cage Spider Noir. I really do love Spider Ham. I love Penny Parker, even though I should read her comic book, but I heard her comic book is really deep. I should get to that very soon or something like that. And yeah, no, the movie's really good. Nothing more to say, nothing less to say. It's just go see the movie if you've never seen it. Just so you can see Across the Spider-Verse and then see that like 5 more times. I saw Across the Spider-Verse like twice, by the way, so that's just how much I love that movie in theaters. Yeah. So, what did you think of Into the Spider-Verse?
I remember. I mean, it's been a couple years since I've seen it, but I do remember it being like a really good animated film. Like better, I guess, better than what you'd initially expect. The art style was really cool, unique, and some things learned about it later just kind of it makes it more interesting. Like you really see the passion and like thought behind everything. Like how I guess this is my very very mild spoilers, but like how Miles's frame rate is like lower than like it's like 20 or something like that. Actually, like most of the film, but by the end it like becomes 48 or like much more fluid and stuff. Once he gets in, becomes Spider-Man basically. Like stuff like that. It's like really cool that they even like thought of that as like a storytelling idea. It had pretty good twist. I remember like good story. Very very memorable moments and like lines and very funny at times. It was overall a very good movie.
Yeah, it was. It's very, very good. So to me, I feel like the Spider Verse movies are an example of animation, like being more of an art form than what people just now would like. Remember how like during like after the pandemic and even before the pandemic, animation was still seen as kid stuff. I mean, besides stuff like BoJack Horseman and South Park, have you ever wondered when people, specifically people who go see an animated movie on the big screen, most adults or even ridiculous people just make fun of animation, saying like it's just drawing, it's like it's for kids, and it's like Disney makes them just particularly for children, like nothing more than that. Like no, animation is not, and like the animation genre or something, like it's not a genre, it's a freaking art form. I have high respects for animation in general because like a lot of people just don't respect that like you can do anything with animation as much as you can do even more than live action. It's not to downgrade live action movies. I actually do love a good amount of live action movies. I think live action movies has gone a long way and they've definitely have improved over time. Some of them, not improving, but at the same time, I really do like a lot of live action movies, but I do have to say animation has definitely pushed the envelopes of what you can do in media, what you can do in film. And Spider-Verse is almost like a pure example of that because after this movie, so many studios nowadays are trying to do the exact same thing that Spider-Verse is doing. Like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Like, why do you think they have that art style? Like,
Because
yeah,
of Spider-Verse.
because of Spider-Verse. The Bad Guys, which is also another DreamWorks movie, very Spider-Verse looking movie in a sense too. Like it's like, well, yeah, that's just, and then now there's like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie coming out, and it looks exactly like what it's trying to do. It's trying to be like Spider, like it's just the style, the way it looks, and like now there's this movie Disney's Wish. Who, if you seen have you seen the trailer to that movie?
No, I don't think so.
And guess what? When you see it, it basically looks like a children's book, but it's taking the style of Spider. Like every movie nowadays is doing its best to try to do something that Spider-Verse is doing because they realize that that movie is making money. Now studios are realizing that, oh, maybe animation is like a money goal as long as we do something like effort and put a lot of effort into like the writing, the story, and just every character and everything, and make something out of this with this animation style. Maybe this could work. Maybe we can make money just like Spider-Verse if the movie looks like this. Like, that's what they're, I mean, that's kind of what they're taking out of it, but I'm hoping it's not the majority because I do want sometimes in between separation, like having regular CGI movies or having like, 2D animated movies on the big screen, which I'm hoping we eventually get someday. Like, not just anime. I want to see Americans do it too. Like, and France is really good with that too. I love French. G Kids does bring a lot of good French movies to bring into the big screen. Like movies like Ernest and Celestine. That's a really good movie. You should definitely check that one out too. Um, so
Yeah, it's interesting how Spider Verse has like developed its own style, and that like other movies are like trying to copy it now. And I mean, so far I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's pretty good. But I just hope it doesn't become oversaturated later on. Just like
it
every
like
movie.
basically we're hoping it's not going to be the majority of films that are coming out, animated films that are coming out in a couple of years.
Yeah, and just like even like movies aren't that great. Just copying the style, just so people think, oh, it's gonna be a good movie or better than what it actually is.
I mean, it
Just
looks like that's not the case. I mean, DreamWorks is still making regular CGI movies like Ruby Gillman, which I heard is really good too. So far,
yeah,
I plan
unfortunately,
on
it's been
seeing.
underperforming at the box office though.
Yeah, I know.
Like
It's.
even worse than Elemental. It's just like oof.
I was like,
Too
oof,
bad
yeah,
for people
yeah.
that make.
Let's just hope it does get. Let's hope it does get better and people go see that movie because a lot of people say it deserves the love, and stuff. But yeah, it just shows like, it kind of takes away the whole like, I'm hoping that studios at least know that animation is an art form. It is an art form. It's something that can be done as much as well as live action, and they teach it respect. That's what I'm hoping for, and I hope Spider-Verse really does push that with their next movie. And now I'm just going to be talking about my opinion on Across the Spider-Verse, but I also want to bring up that's recent now. So, yeah, so Spider-Verse, well, originally, of course, the sequels 2 and 3 are meant to be two-part movies. Originally, it was just called Spider-Verse Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 and Part 2, but then eventually it changed to Across the Spider-Verse and Beyond the Spider-Verse. So, obviously, when you go see Part 1, you know that the movie's going to end on a cliffhanger, as most Part 1 and Part 2 movies do that. But so at first, the schedule for Beyond the Spider-Verse, what it was going to come out next year in March. That's like the official release date of the movie for now. But so on Twitter and on official account, there was an animator who worked on who are working on the Beyond and Cross Spider-Verse movies, the Spider-Verse movies, and he says like, we're not going to be able to finish that film in March. We're just letting everyone know. Sony really needs to push the date for this movie because like we're not going to be able to finish it. And also it's been found out that over 100 animators of Across the Spider-Verse basically walked out of this film because they
Yeah,
were,
because they were overworked.
yeah, they were overworked. And I'm just like, yeah, not only writers are getting the shit kicked into the studios, but also the animators too. Like, have you noticed that animators are like given so, and usually a lot of creative animators usually get bigger projects and eventually they become showrunners of their own show. And like, they're just giving like, they are paid shit. They're given no respect. They think, oh, well, it's just moving pages, just like flip books. No. Animation takes effort, a lot of it. It takes heart, it takes effort, it takes blood, sweat, and tears. People need to know that as well. People need to respect their animators. People need to respect animation in general. And they need to know that they're as human as we are. Okay? I'm just putting that out right there. Like, I don't know why. It's just like studios just like to push. I understand that they have to make deadlines, but when the fact that they're being overworked just to make this one, I feel like Spider-Verse is an example because the animation is so different in the movie all the time. There's just more effort that needs to be put into it. And from what I understand, Spider-Verse was made in under 5 years. There was a 5 year gap of making Across the Spider-Verse and beyond. And from what I understand, a lot of people say the animator even said like they're only in the test screenings. They're only in the test and beta screening phases. They're not even done with the movie yet. Like that's all they have for Beyond the Spider-Verse. Like it's not even the movie hasn't even started worked like at all. Like not even professionally worked on it yet. Like the animators haven't done anything yet. The directors haven't put the voices of the characters. There's not even a script yet, for gosh sakes. Like how the so we're just supposed to believe that this movie's going to be made in 8 months?
Yeah, I don't think that's possible.
Like no, like I think I know this is gonna really upset people, but it's mostly a thing that's possibly gonna happen. I think they're gonna delay this movie for another 4 or 5 years. So Spider-Verse, Beyond the Spider-Verse, if we're gonna get that part two, it's probably gonna come in maybe 2027, 2028, maybe 2026, depending on how they're going to work on this film. But we know for a fact that they're never, ever going to like finish this movie in time for March, the March release. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to rush it either, because if
I,
you rush it, it
I think I
probably
remember
won't turn
Amy
out great.
Pascal's comment. Amy Pascal's really shitty comment. Like, she's just like, well, welcome to making a movie. I'm just like, do you even know how to make a gosh damn movie? I like to know. I like to know because like are you an animator? Because you don't know how much like a lot of like seriously, it's just really difficult to make an animated movie.
Yeah, just anything artistic really takes a lot
Yeah,
of hard work, dedication, time,
yeah,
and money.
time and money. Like, but at the same time, we're already dealing with some with the WGA strike and also with everything else. I'm just hoping this shit gets done. I swear, if this shit needs to be done, a lot of things needs to be fixed. So that's just I'm just hoping this gets fixed. I'm glad that Spider-Verse Across the Spider-Verse is successful, but I'm hoping this is a way for the studios to give them more time to make the next, the next sequel. Like, to give them time to make the next sequel at least. So
Yeah,
I'm
and finish out the trilogy. Is it just going to be a trilogy, or are they going to do more after this? Do you know? Have they said?
from what I understand from Lord and Miller, they are only going to be making the first three movies. That's it. It's only going to be three movies for now, finishing Miles' story. But they'll probably get other people to do like other Spider Verse movies. Like obviously they're going to make movies about like Spider Gwen, maybe Spider Noir, Penny Parker. I really would like to see a Spider Ham movie. That because he
Yeah.
was like one of the best characters of the like into the Spider Verse.
Yeah, I remember like when Spider-Verse, like the first Spider-Verse came out, that there were rumors that Spider Noir might get his own movie, but
Oh
we
my
haven't
gosh,
got.
that would be such a stylistically good like noir movie. It would be like a black and white movie, but it would still really be cool.
Yeah, and you'd still have Nick Cage, and then his
Nicolas
great.
Cage as Spider-Man is just it's just gold. It's like the best thing in the world. I swear it's like one of the best things ever. Like Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man. For our final topic today, we're going to be talking about the Summer Game Fest and yeah, what the gaming studios have been showing recently.
Well, I mean, we're not gonna go over every game in the show,
No, but
obviously.
just the ones that like interest us.
One game I'm interested in, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm actually interested in a Ubisoft game for once. That Star Wars Outlaws actually looks pretty good from what they showed. I'm definitely interested in trying that. I've become more of a Star Wars fan like recent years and stuff, and that I just really liked the world that they showed and stuff, like the graphics honestly look really good, even though it's a Ubisoft game. Like they look pretty detailed. Like it's not like your average run of the mill Ubisoft game where it just kind of looks generic and stuff. Like they're actually putting some effort into it. It looks like. I also find it funny that like they are like taking notes from the recent Star Wars Jedi games. And they have like a little companion instead of a robot. It's a like a little creature, and you got some of that Uncharted climbing and stuff, you know. But I mean, it's still largely doing its own thing. You know, you can ride speeders, and they got like stealth sections and stuff. So yeah, I'm curious to see how that game turns out. I don't know if it'll be a day one buy right now because I mean, it's still Ubisoft. I'm still kind of skeptical about that, but you know, we'll see. I'm also pretty excited for the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, but I'm pretty skeptical about that too, just because you know it's Konami.
And
It
Hideo
it could turn
Kojima is
out good, it could
gone.
turn out really bad. Yeah, that too. It's gonna be a Metal Gear game without him. But I mean, you know, Revengeance turned out okay, so I mean, here's hoping, I guess. Plus, it's a remake of a game he already made, so it's like, you know, as long as you don't change things way too much, I mean, how can you fuck it up, really? But
The
you never know with these things.
pachinko loot boxes, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also looking forward to Spider-Man 2, although I don't know if I'll be able to play it or not. I
Same
don't
here.
still don't have a PS5.
I'm
But
saying I
yeah.
don't have a PS5, but if there's a PC release, I will definitely play that. Like I
Yeah.
can play the PC release. That's why I'm going to be playing the PC release of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Yeah, I heard about that too. I'll have to check that board out too. And then I guess we'll get more into like the Nintendo stuff. But obviously one of the most surprising announcements from this whole Summer Games Fest presentations was that Super Mario RPG is getting a remake.
I have barely touched Super Mario RPG. I am a huge Mario fan, but other than that, I have no red collect. I have no much memory of Super Mario RPG, but I understand a lot of people love that game, and I understand that people are hyped up for it. I'm just not as hyped, but I'm willing to try it if the game is better than the Super Nintendo game.
Yeah, I mean I haven't played Super Mario RPG either, but I mean like a lot of people, I was just surprised that this was happening, and it looks pretty good from what they showed. Like it's interesting that they're kind of keeping the whole sort of art style from the original. Like Mario looks a little bit more like squashed and chibi looking and stuff, as opposed to just like you know his regular model. So I mean that's an interesting stylistic choice there. But I mean, yeah, I'm really interested to try it out because I know people just keep praising it like all the time, and I'm curious to see how good it is. And hey, who knows? Maybe we'll finally get Gino in the next Smash game now.
Possibly. Oh my gosh. For one, with this remake, the way I look at it, I'm just like, I wonder if it's by the same people who did the Link's Awakening, Nintendo Switch remake. It kind of looks very similar, but it could be by another studio. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, if it is by the same studio, then it probably will turn out great because Link's Awakening that turned out great from what I heard.
I love the remake of Link's Awakening. It is really good.
I'm also a bit of a Luigi's Mansion fan, so I was pretty like hyped that Luigi's Mansion 2 is getting a remake for Switch. So I mean, that's pretty cool that like you can play most of them on Switch now, but I think still sadly you can't play the first one, at least like the remake, because that's still only on 3DS, I think.
They're gonna do it eventually. if they put
Yeah, maybe after the second one.
Yeah, if they put three on the Nintendo Switch and now they're going to put two on the Nintendo Switch, eventually they're going to do the first one because they can't keep two on the Nintendo 3DS. I'm hoping it's not just a port of the game. I'm hoping they actually add some kind of content compared to like the first release because I did love when Luigi's Mansion 2 came out. Well, it's technically Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon in the US, but everywhere else calls Luigi's Mansion 2. Eh.
Yeah, but yeah, looking forward to playing some more Luigi's Mansion, I guess. Because
Mm.
I never got a chance to play Luigi's Mansion 2 when it originally came out. So playing it now on Switch with like better graphics and stuff, that'd be pretty nice.
hopefully.
I mean that's the majority of the games I'm kind of hyped for, I would say. But I mean there are some ones that like kind of intrigue me a bit, like the like a dragon games,
Yeah.
like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, I think it's called, where it looks like it's going to be set in America, which I don't know how much you or anybody out there knows about like the Yakuza games or the Like a Dragon games, which is what they're now being called. But I mean, they're primarily set in Japan, and all the NPCs and main characters speak Japanese, so
Yeah.
to have like the main character now around people who speak English and stuff is it's probably going to be interesting.
Yeah. I can totally understand. Um, I'll do a quick briefing because I have actually a lot of games that I am hyped for. Um,
Oh boy.
so, for example, you probably never heard of these, or maybe you have, but you didn't bother looking at the trailers. So, Prince of Persia: The Last Crown. This looks really interesting to me. It's like not only a 2D game, a 2.5D game. Like, kind of like it looks really cool. It's like I really do love side scrollers, but I really digged when I played the PlayStation 2 version of Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. I might get into I'm really kind of getting into the series, but it might, not be, maybe it's going to be good, maybe it's not, who knows. You can't really tell too much from the trailer since most of the trailers kind of CGI, not really much gameplay, but they did show at least some of the gameplay. Also, Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one definitely looks interesting too.
I mean, it's basically another reboot in the Mortal Kombat franchise. It's basically a reboot of the very first Mortal Kombat game because the continuity change. I haven't played all the games to know what happens, so let's
Apparently,
see.
the timeline gets reset or something. That's what I can understand from like the trailers and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so and also Sonic Superstars. When I saw the trailer to that, when they first looked at it, I was actually kind of like, oh, they're remastering the Sonic games again, or like it's a new 2D Sonic game. Are they doing something different? Oh, it's different, all right. It's the first ever 3D 2.5D Sonic game. Well, Sonic episode 1 and 2 kind of count as that, but this is more on like they're actually putting effort into this. And from what I understand, a lot of people, like basically the original team of Sonic team is going to be making this, plus some other people such as the musician who made T Lopes is going to be involved in Sonic Superstars, which is awesome because I love the music he did for Sonic Mania. It's just like it's gonna be a big I'm just like, who's ever involved in this project, it's gonna be freaking awesome. So yeah, I'm hyped. Um,
Was Christian Whitehead involved with it, or am I wrong
I
on that?
I don't think Christian Whitehead's involved. He's actually involved in a completely other game, which I'm gonna get to. So yeah. Then there's Alan Wake 2. I haven't played the first Alan Wake, but I'm kind of interested in Alan Wake 2 just for that reason. But I want to play it just because of this Alan Wake 2 trailer. It looks really interesting. I'm very invested, and I want to see where it goes with this one.
Yeah, I haven't played Alan Wake 1 either, but I'm interested to get into that series. I'm surprised it's taken this long to like make an Alan Wake 2. Because I think the first game came out in like 2009. It's like, wow. That's like at least over 10 years ago.
Yeah. Also, John Carpenter, the guy who made Halloween, is making a video game. I mean, he has said a bunch of times that he loves video games, so now he's making his own video game called Toxic Commando, which is a first-person shooter type of zombie game. And it looks kind of generic, but who knows? Maybe it's actually going to be really good.
I mean, with John Carpenter's backing, I would hope so.
Yeah, and we're also getting Sandland, which is funny because there's an anime movie coming out. So Sandland, just to give you a briefing, is from the creator of Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama. He created Dragon Ball, but he also created other manga series. Sandland is basically kind of like a punk desert, kind of futuristic punk desert, and like manga. It's like only one volume of a manga. I read it. I actually have it. It's a really well made like really really well made manga. It's really funny, but it's also kind of very in like almost in very investing. It involves an old man traveling across the desert with a mini devil who has powers and facing kind of like imagine Mad Max Fury Road mixed in with Dune, basically.
with the art style of Dragon Ball.
Yeah, with the art style of Dragon Ball. Like and now they're making an anime out of it, but they're also making a video game, which oh great, I'm going to be seeing both the anime and the video game, so this might be interesting. And then we also get another type of Pokemon ripoff type of game called Pow World. I'm just like, it's basically where the creatures turn into cybernet, like use weapons. It's like Pokemon with weapons.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. That one was kind of weird.
I'm just like, I don't know if it's made by the same developers. I don't think it is. So yeah, I'm not. I mean, I really am not into like the Pokemon video games as much as everyone else is. I love the anime, just not much of the video games. I apologize if I might upset a lot of Pokemon fans. I really do.
Yeah, I'm not really into the games either.
Yeah. Another one that obviously there's Street Fighter 6, but that already is out, so there's nothing much to say. I haven't played it yet, but I know about it. I know like a lot of people want to talk about it. So yeah. Oh yeah, the Lies of P. So this one is an open world action game. So Lies of P is basically kind of a very strange take on it's a very strange take on Pinocchio, where Pinocchio's like this cybernetic half robot, half like human kind of thing, and it looks pretty cool. It looks really really cool. It looks like it's kind of like Metal Gear Rising or a hack and slash like Bayonetta mixed in with open world kind of like, action elements. Like I said, it has a very deep story. I don't know what it like from what I see it looks really cool. So I don't know. It's the one that interests me. So
Yeah, it's another interesting sort of Souls-like game,
yeah.
but with more of a steampunk 1800s feel, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Then we're going to the Nintendo side now. That we're getting near. Detective Pikachu 2. Quickly just saying this, I haven't played the first one, but I heard that the first one didn't get so much good reviews, but I hear that maybe the second one might be better since it's on Switch. Who knows? Nothing much to say about that.
Did you see the movie though?
Detective Pikachu? Oh yeah, it was a decent flick. I liked it.
I never got around to watching it, to be honest.
It's decent. Having Ryan Reynolds be Detective Pikachu was really funny.
Yeah, it should have been Danny DeVito.
Okay, yeah, everyone says that. So, and then also, it looks like Nintendo Switch is going to get some Metal Gear love because the entire Volume 1 collection is coming to Nintendo Switch. Which, thank gosh, now there's an entire collection of these games on one console. And they're also adding the NES games, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that the Twin Snakes isn't in it. You know,
Yeah,
the GameCube remake. I guess that means that not that great.
I
I
don't
don't know.
know. We're getting another WarioWare game, which I am hyped about. I love the WarioWare. WarioWare Touch It was actually really good. No, what was it? Like Touch and Go or something like that. The Nintendo Switch WarioWare game that was actually really good. However, I wasn't fond that they got rid of the joy that they had in WarioWare Gold, because in WarioWare Gold there was more personality, there was a lot of good voice acting in that game, and I thought that was the progression of the games, but somehow they cut down when the Nintendo Switch version came out, which was really depressing. But I'm hoping that this WarioWare brings the voice acting back to a full throttle, a lot more. I hope we get good voice acting in this game. Now, Pigmen 4. I just want to give you a news. So I beat the first Pigment game. I've never beaten the second game. I haven't even barely touched the scratch on the third game. I didn't even play the Switch version yet. But Pigment 4 interests me because of the fact that not only has new elements to it, but you can also beat the game at nighttime. You can also take night courses in the game. Like
Yeah,
that's what
I'm guessing
really
it's a series, right?
yeah, that's what really interests me. And I'm hoping this takes the same route that the second game had, where you can basically play the game as much as you want. You don't have to go through a time limit just to finish the mission. I'm hoping that's not the case. You can just go as much as you want. They're also releasing HD versions of Pikmin 1 and 2 on the Nintendo Switch, so that's kind of cool.
Yes, and now you have all the Pikmin games on one console, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a series I still haven't gotten into, but I really would because it is like a very, unique and creative sort of series, and people seem to really love it. So
Oh, they do. They do. Everyone loves the Pikmin series, and the toys are really cute too. Now we get to okay, and then Batman is coming into the Nintendo Switch with the Batman Arkham trilogy. I'm hoping this. I'm hoping like the people Rocksteady. I'm hoping Rocksteady takes their time and effort to make the port of this game, and I hope they don't go on their limitations for it too, because this is the thing that always gets on my nerves. People say that the Nintendo Switch can't pull off 60 FPS and 1080p graphics. I'm just like, so explain games like Super Mario, like Odyssey, or like other like Link Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, or these other Nintendo Switch ported games. Do you think they can't pull off 60 FPS? A lot of people say that it's going to be like not a good like port or something like that, but you know what, if Rocksteady takes their time and effort and not to rush this port and actually give this port the love it deserves, then I think people will be satisfied with it as long as they take their time with it. And also, we get another RPG series that's based on a 1998 game. Remember Live Alive, which was based on a Super Nintendo game that never got released in the US? Well, now there's going to be a remake. Star Ocean: The Second Story R is going to be released on Nintendo Switch, which, okay, cool. Not really into that stuff, but okay. Also, there's going to be another Splatfest for Splatoon 3. And I played the first two games and I love the first two games, but good gosh, do I need to play Splatoon 3. I feel like I'm missing everything. You into the Splatoon series?
no, I haven't really gotten into Splatoon games, but
You
yeah, I mean,
should.
Splatoon 3 seems like the best one of them so far.
You should get into them. Okay, so remember when I told you about like what Christian Whitehead is working on?
Right.
So the team behind Sonic Mania, the entire team, including T. Lopes, they're working on a new 3D platformer for the Nintendo Switch called Penny's Big Breakaway. Like, I don't know if you heard about this, but there's a trailer for it. It looks so good. It looks like a super original idea. However, it looks like also a simple platformer, but I'm actually very, I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to what they're going to be doing, and I hope it's like really good. I really hope it's really good. I hope it's really awesome of what they're going to do. Like, I'm just super super hyped for this. It looks freaking awesome, I swear.
Yeah, it looks really fun. I like the whole they're using yo-yo for like mechanics and
Yeah.
stuff.
There have
That's
been
pretty.
grapple mechanics in video games before, like Bionic Commando. But yeah, this could be a new type of thing. I'm hoping this game turns out as well as it is. I'm pretty hyped for it. This looks really interesting. And I think we should end off here with possibly one of the most hyped games that Nintendo's offering right now, that everyone went crazy over at at the Nintendo New York City location, Nintendo World location, because they had the Nintendo Direct there. Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
Oh yeah.
So at first, it looks like it's going to be another new Super Mario Brothers game, but the art style, the way it plays, it looks more like the controls look better in the game. Plus, a lot of crazy stuff, and of course, we can't forget about the Elephant Mario meme.
Hmm. Yeah, it looks pretty weird, but seeing like the gameplay potential in it, it's like okay, I can get behind this.
I mean, we've seen. I mean, when I saw this trailer, I'm just like, okay, this looks cool. I'm kind of into it because I'm a huge Mario fan, but I've never really gotten too much into the new series. I love the first two games, but then it kind of got stale and repetitive with the other ports of the game, such as U. And I heard that Wii's like the best one, but I haven't bothered going back to playing that one. But you know what? As long as they're still good games, or they're like mediocre. To me, like a mediocre Mario game is the worst sin in the world. But I'm hoping Super Mario Brothers Wonder does so many different things that I'm willing to like take it to take it to the next level of Mario gameplay. I'm hoping like they bring back classic Mario in a sense for us, like I don't know, for a skin or something like that, or they're gonna bring like modern Mario to be in these like like ridiculous worlds and stuff, or do something interesting like that. I hope they bring the cape back from Super Mario World or something like that. I'm hoping they do something unique with Super Mario Brothers Wonder, and you can play as Daisy in this game, so that's pretty awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, so I'm hoping this turns out really well. I That's all I'm hoping for. So yeah, I think that's the end of the podcast. That's the end, guys, of what we have to talk about. This is we're just starting out. This is the pilot. So just asking the audience, what did you guys think? Do you think we should keep doing stuff like this? Do you think like this is something we can do? We can talk about a lot more subjects. You want to leave in the comments what kind of subjects we should talk about? Any recent news, or maybe we should just do some movies, or even some shows, or even some kind of very topics that involve media nowadays. What did you guys think? So yeah, um, yeah, this is Roger D. Starr. Thank you for listening to us talk about the media, recent media nowadays.
Yeah, this is Roy, and we'll catch you next time. Maybe, hopefully,
Yeah,
if you enjoy listening to this.
take care, everyone. Roger D. Starr signing out. I'll see you next time, my Star Chasers.
See ya.